Hello church, just want to spend a few moments today thinking about a couple of very short parables from Matthew chapter 13, the parable of the hidden treasure and the parable of the pearl. So I'm just going to dive in and read those three verses right now. It's Matthew chapter 13 verses 44 to 46, and as David always says, this is the perfect part, so pay attention. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure that a man discovered hidden in a field. In his excitement, he hid it again and sold everything he owned to get enough money to buy the field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant on the lookout for choice pearls. When he discovered a pearl of great value, he sold everything he owned and bought it. So here Jesus is just talking about the kingdom of heaven and he's likening it to this great pearl or this great treasure that is hidden. And actually, that's a really good way of summing up what the kingdom of heaven is like, isn't it? It's a great prize. It's a great treasure. It's something that we should desire above all things. Nothing is worth more than the kingdom of heaven. These two men, they gave everything they had to attain this treasure, and we should be willing to give everything we have to get into the kingdom of heaven, to follow God and to find God and restore our relationship with him. And we know if we become Christians, that's what we've done, isn't it? We have given our lives over to God. We have asked for forgiveness, and we have that guarantee of an eternity in heaven with him. But I don't think these parables just deal with becoming a Christian. I think there's more to it than that. It's not just the treasure is heaven. It certainly is. An eternity with God is an amazing thing. But actually, we should continue to desire God above all else after we become a Christian. And I know for me, and I'm sure for some of you, actually at times we let things creep into our lives that begin to take hold and maybe take the place of God in certain areas. And that can be a real challenge and something that can be really difficult to deal with. So how do we go about making sure that we keep desiring God and we keep seeking this treasure? And it's important that we seek this treasure. It doesn't just happen by accident. In the parable of the merchant and the pearl, he is seeking for the pearl. He's not just aimlessly wandering around and happens to stumble upon this amazing treasure, this amazing prize. He is actively seeking it. And we have to make sure that even after we become Christians, we continue to actively seek the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 6 verse 33 says, "Seek first the kingdom of heaven above all else, and live righteously, and he'll give everything you need." How many times do things come into our lives where we don't give over to God first time? Money, anxiety, fear. And at this time, actually, those things are often quite, they're important to us, and rightly so. Our health, family, friends, fear, anxiety, money issues may be something that we've not had to encounter before, but all of a sudden, they are very real to us. And we have to make sure that actually we don't let those things consume us and take the place of seeking out God and seeking out the kingdom of heaven. Because actually, if we come to God first and we seek him and we desire him above all else, that says there, doesn't it? He will give you everything that you need. Now, it doesn't say it's everything we want, and what God thinks we need, or knows we need rather, is better than what we understand ourselves. So we might get a bit confused by that, but we just have to trust God because God knows what he's doing. So we just have to seek him first, and everything else will be dealt with by God in the right time and in the right way. I think that just brings an amazing reassurance. These are difficult times for lots of different reasons, and actually seeking God can bring a real comfort, knowing that if we seek him and seek the kingdom of heaven, that he will provide for us. So it's easy to say, oh yeah, seek the kingdom of heaven, but how do we go about that? Well, Proverbs 2 verses 1 to 4 give us a little bit of a hint on that, and I'm just going to paraphrase it slightly. I'm not going to read all 4 verses, but in it tells us that God's commands, his word, is treasure, and that we should search for it like silver, like hidden treasure. We should be searching God's word for hidden treasure. And how many times have we've been reading God's word and he speaks to us, he reassures us, brings us a verse that just fits the moment. So that's something that can help us to seek the kingdom, is to look into God's word. It is such an amazing tool to have, to be able to go to. And at this time in lockdown, actually we have the opportunity to maybe spend more time with God and God's word than we would do normally. And I really want to challenge you actually to make sure that you are spending this time wisely, that you are not watching a box set. Actually, box sets aren't that important when it comes to the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven we should desire above all else. Nothing is more important than gaining a better understanding of the kingdom of heaven and having a better relationship with God. So instead of, just sitting in front of the TV at night or whatever it is, actually let's spend this time that we have, this extra time, as a real positive thing. And let's use it to really delve into God's word and really seek his kingdom and all that comes with that, the spiritual gifts and everything else. We want to see God's kingdom come, but unless we understand God's kingdom, how are we going to help it to come? And so that's my challenge to you. Really, really spend time delving into God's word. Use this time to get a better understanding of God's kingdom so that when all of this is over, actually we can go out with renewed vigour, with renewed wisdom, and hopefully having grown as individuals and as a church during this time, so we can advance the kingdom even further forward. So that's really what I want to get from these two parables. Just really seek God's kingdom during this time. Seek him, spend time just devouring his word, the treasure that is in there, and make sure that we continue to desire God above everything else.